Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Reykjavík in Iceland.
Which is not in the EU.
No, we are not a member state.
But Iceland is close to the EU.
In a certain sense, because we are part of Schengen and also of the European Economic Area. Yes, I have lived for quite some time in other countries. I think 1/3 of my life. I am finishing my PhD in the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. In relation to that degree, I had to use some resources in, for example, Germany. I stayed a couple of years there. I've also lived in the Netherlands for several years. It has enriched my life in very many ways. First time that I lived as a teenager outside of Iceland, I had a culture shock. I went through an organization called AFS to Guatemala. It was a very different culture, obviously, from Iceland. That was a difficult learning experience, but it was a gateway to a very important part of my life, which is to try to learn a little bit other languages, live in different cultures, to travel, get to know people from different places, their cuisine, and so on. I enjoy it quite a lot. I can't really see myself as living in one country all my life. Even though Iceland is not in the EU makes it much more easy for me to do my studies because I can freely move and I can freely go to these countries and live there and work there. And I don't think that would have been the case if Iceland didn't have anything to do with the EU or if EU wasn't there. Somewhat controversial in Iceland, should we join, should we not? Part of it is that as a small countries tend to be somewhat suspicious about huge organizations because they're not going to be a very strong voice. But I think that it's very important for us as an island to be in some kind of relation with the EU. It's helpful, for example, in making my studies and movements and work easier about how good it would be for our fishing industry and independence, our agriculture. These are things that people discuss back and forth, and I honestly have not really delved into it to know. Often people talk about that the EU is corrupt, there's too much bureaucracy, many rules, it's undermining independence of countries. So there may be something to it, but I think that if you're going to have people, you're always going to have some corruption. You just have to deal with that. Even if countries are just independent, you're still going to have corruption in every single country on some level. But I do know that I would rather want to have the EU or something working cooperation between European nations because, as people may tend to forget maybe these days, the EU, as many other multinational or even international bodies, was created with the idea of promoting peace. At least that was one of the goals. And we have a very bloody history in Europe. And I fail to see how having no cooperation between countries, just having everyone independent without any treaties or any these umbrella organizations, I fail to see how that would make Europe a better place to live in. We should rather strive to make the EU better than to try to tell people that we should take it away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.